Hello, passengers, co-pilots, shotgun callers, blunderbuss bellowers, and midnight riders. Welcome to another episode of Full Moon Empty Road. As always, I'm Jeremy, and I'll be your driver tonight. Hope everybody had a great week, and I hope you're ready for another road trip. We're going to be spotlighting a particular entity tonight again, rather than a place. So get in, buckle up, grab the rock salt, and let's ride. We have work to do. We're hunting hellhounds tonight. And while we're headed there, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everyone for checking out today's episode. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me at the following places. That is Instagram and Facebook at FMER Podcast, Twitter at Full Moon Empty RD, and TikTok at Full Moon Empty Road. If you'd like to support the podcast, listener support is on Spotify and Spotify for Podcasters. You can head over to Bonfire and pick up a shirt. You can drop a tip in the Patreon or Good Pods tip jar, or you can buy me a coffee. All links are in the About section on YouTube. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Well, it looks like we're getting to our first destination, so let's go find us a hellhound. Time's up. It's time to pony up on the deal you struck. Hellhounds are mythological dog-like creatures straight out of hell, hence the name Hellhounds. A guardian servant of hell, the devil, or the underworld, they have multiple origins. In Greek mythology, they're known as Cerberus. In Norse mythology, they're known as Garm. And in English folklore, they're known as black dogs and fairy hounds in Celtic folklore. Though their characteristics vary somewhat depending on the lore, they are commonly black, anomalously overgrown, supernaturally strong, and often had red eyes or are accompanied by flames. There are numerous sightings of the beasts across Europe, North and South America, and Asia. In France, 856 AD, a black hound was said to materialize in a church, even though the doors were shut. The church grew dark as it padded up and down the aisle as if looking for someone. And if you know anything about hellhounds, especially if you're a fan of movies and TV, they're kind of like the collectors of sorts. So, their job is generally looking for someone. The dog then vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. On mainland Normandy, the Ronjardot, I think that's French, I hope I'm saying that right, wanders the streets of Bayeux on winter nights as a phantom dog, gnawing on bones and dragging chains along with it. In Lower Brittany, there are stories of a ghost ship crewed by the souls of criminals with hellhounds set to guard them and inflict on them thousands of tortures. In Belgium, Oude Rode Ogen, Old Red Eyes, which it translates to, or the Beast of Flanders, was a demon reported in Flanders, Belgium in the 18th century who would take the form of a large black hound with fiery red eyes. And I hope I'm saying this next part right, but in Wallonia, the southern region of Belgium, folk tales mention the Chinalchini, the chained hound in Walloon, a hellhound with a long chain that was thought to roam the fields at night. In Spain, Catalan myth, Dip is an evil, black, hairy hound, an emissary of the devil who sucks people's blood. Like other figures associated with demons in Catalan myth, he is lame in one leg. Dip is pictured on the escutcheon of Pradeep. In England, myth is common across Great Britain in the form of black dogs of English folklore. The earliest written records of the hellhound is the 11th and 12th century Peterborough version of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which speaks of a wild hunt through the forest between Peterborough and Stamford. There are several other versions throughout Europe, but if I cover them all, we're going to be here all night. So we're going to move into Asian lore, and I'm just going to try and cover, a couple from each region that has lore. And I say a couple, I think I did 2 or 3 there. I've got 2 or 3 for Asia, and I think there were only 2 or 3 with America, in North and South America. So I just went ahead with all of those. But in Arabian lore, one of the most common entities, the jinn, are believed to ride on hellhounds. The negative depictions of dogs probably derives from their close association with eating the dead and digging out graves. Next up is another one I'm hoping I'm pronouncing right, but I couldn't find a pronunciation on it, so I'm more or less just going to pronounce it like it reads, which may not be the right thing to do, but So, in China, the Howdo, or the Hudo, is a legendary creature originating within the minorities of southern China. It's described as having the appearance of a large black dog that can emit flames from its mouth. Fire would break out wherever the Hudo went, so the ancients saw it as a sign of fire and often an ominous symbol. It's probably a demonized tribal symbol of southern China. In India, the Mahikana Jataka of the Buddhist Pali Canon includes a story about a black hound named Mahikana. Led by the god Sakra in the guise of a forester, Mahikana scares unrighteous people towards righteousness, so that few people will be reborn in hell. His appearance portends the moral degeneration of the human world, when monks and nuns do not behave as they should, and humanity has gone astray from ethical livelihood. In Japanese folklore, the Okori Inu is a yokai that resembles a dog. The Okori Inu stalks closely and follows people who are walking along mountain paths in nighttime. If by chance the person falls over, or they will be immediately eaten up. But if they pretend to be having a short rest, they will not be attacked. And that's going to cover the Asian lore that I've got for today. We're going to move on to North and South America. The United States and south of the border have their own folklore regarding hellhounds, so we're going to get into that. In the U.S., the legend of the hellhound has persisted in Meriden, Connecticut since the 19th century. The dog is said to haunt the Hanging Hills, a series of rock ridges and gorges that serve as a popular recreation area and can also be known as a protector of the supernatural. The first non-local account came from W.H.C. Pynchon in the Connecticut Quarterly, in which it's described as a death omen. It is said that if you meet the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow. And the third time shall bring death. They are the collector of souls that made a deal with the devil. Delta blues musician Robert Johnson is the basis of one such story, which is the basis of his song Crossroad Blues and Hellhound on My Trail. Hellhounds with fiery eyes are reported throughout Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina, under a variety of names. Now, I may butcher a few of these, and I do apologize, but I'm going to try and stumble through them. One of the names is the Perro Negro, which is Spanish for black dog. The Nahal, I think that's Nahal, which is in Mexico. Huechivo, or Huepec, in Mexico. The Cadejo in Central America. And the Cadejo has an interesting kind of lore behind it, and I'm actually going to cover that as a full episode on its own soon. The dog familiar in Argentina, and the lobizon in Paraguay and Argentina. They're usually said to be either incarnations of the devil or a shape-changing sorcerer. There have been accounts of hellhounds all throughout history. In fact, the Beast of Bray Road, which I covered in one of my cryptid episodes, is also considered a hellhound rather than just a cryptid. The Black Shuck of Bungay, England, reportedly tore through the town during a violent storm. There's even one reportedly sighted in Pike County, Kentucky, that has caused problems for the local farmers. Sightings of the Hellhound often coincide with significant events such as wars, disasters, or moments of great turmoil. In some cases, witnesses claim to have seen these creatures prowling around ancient burial grounds or near sites associated with the supernatural. So these things are generally seen as malicious. One of the things that kind of led me to it was, number one, a song that I wanted to use on the episode. There's a song written by the musician Sean James, and it's called Hellhound. And I actually reached out to him to see if I could use it on this episode a month or two ago, and never heard back. Which, I mean, he's pretty well known, so I'm not sitting here like I can't believe he didn't answer me. But I figured I'll go ahead and just go ahead and get the episode out there, because I had been thinking on it a little bit, here and there. So I was like, well, might as well just go ahead, and it'll be a good topic to cover. So we'll do that. But definitely considering its history, I guess, and the fact that it played a. There's belief that the Hellhound played a part in Robert Johnson's death, and me being a fan of blues, I was just like, that's even another hit as to why I could, give it a go. But I do want to thank everybody for checking out the episode today. Again, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can find me at FMER Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Full Moon Empty RD on Twitter and Full Moon Empty Road on TikTok. If you have a topic suggestion you would like me to cover, you're more than welcome to reach out to me in either one of those places, or you can drop me a line at my email at fullmoonemptyroad@gmail.com. I think I've honestly had maybe one episode or one topic suggested by a listener that I don't personally know in my day-to-day life. So I would love it if you reach out, shoot me an email or something, be like, hey, cover this if you don't mind, and I'll definitely try to do that. There was one that a friend of mine named Patrick had reached out. This has been months ago. Reached out about wanting me to cover, and he was like, hey, have you heard of this? And it was something I hadn't heard of. I was like, no, well, let me look it up. And I think they ended up making a movie on the topic, but there was no actual history to it. So I was like, well, can't really cover that, because I want to cover the history and the supernatural of it. But I did want to, before we go today, send a shout out to Sweden. I noticed them on my demographics section on Spotify for podcasters 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I just kept forgetting to say, hey, thank you so much for checking it out. So to the Swedish listener, if you are still hanging around checking out the episodes, thank you so much, and happy to have you along for the ride. That is going to do it for today, so we are going to call it a night, and let's go home.